All right, so now we're going to be looking at division. So on division, let me rewrite this to begin with. I'm looking at question number 9. Let me rewrite this as x plus 6. I'm going to divide this into 9x to the third plus 50x to the second minus 34x minus 60. Make sure the polynomials, both on the outside or inside, are in order. The exponents are in order, and you're not skipping any of the exponents. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the first term only on the inside. The first term only, I'm going to divide it by the first term on the outside. 9x to the third divided by x. Numbers wise, I'm thinking 9 divided by 1. That gives me 9. X to the third divided by x. That gives me x to the second. Remember, when it comes to letters, in division, I subtract the exponents. In multiplication, I add the exponents, but in division, I subtract the exponents. All right, so now I'm going to multiply 9x squared to both terms on the outside. 9x squared times x gives me 9x to the third. 9x squared times 6, that gives me positive 54x to the second. Now I'm going to subtract these polynomials, but we talked about yesterday in subtraction. In subtraction, we switch the signs. So this is negative, this is negative. My first term should cancel out. So 50 minus 54, that gives me negative 4x to the second minus 34x. Notice I brought the next term down. Divide the first term, divided by the first term. So negative 4x squared divided by x, that gives me negative 4x. Now multiply negative 4x to the two terms on the outside. Negative 4 times x, that gives me negative 4x to the second. Negative 4x times 6, that gives me negative 24x. Now I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to change the signs. Remember, when subtraction polynomials, we switch the signs. The first term should cancel out. Negative 34 plus 24, that gives me negative 10x minus 60. Now divide the first term, negative 10x divided by x. That gives me negative 10. Multiply negative 10 to the two terms on the outside. Negative 10 times x is negative 10x. Negative 10 times 6, that's negative 60. Draw the line, change the signs. The first term should cancel out. The second term also cancels out, so we have no remainder. My answer is 9x squared minus 4x minus 10. Now let's take a look at question number 11. Let me rewrite this as n minus 2. I'm going to divide this into n to the fourth minus 10n to the third plus 11n squared plus 0n plus 20. Remember, I just said make sure you're not skipping any exponents. That's why I added the 0n, because I could not skip any exponents. Okay, so now let's divide. I'm going to divide the first term on the inside. I'm going to divide it by the first term on the outside. N to the fourth divided by n, that gives me n to the third. Now multiply n to the third to both terms on the outside. So n to the third times n, and n to the third times a negative 2. Now I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to switch my signs. First term should cancel out. So here I get negative 8 n to the third plus 11n squared. I'm going to divide the first term on the inside with the first term on the outside. Negative 8n to the third divided by n. That gives me negative 8n to the second. Multiply negative 8n to the second to the two terms on the outside. That gives me negative 8n to the third plus 16n to the second. Draw the line, change the signs. That gives me negative 5n squared plus 0n. Divide the first term, divided by the first term on the outside, negative 5n squared divided by n, that gives me negative 5n. Multiply negative 5n to the terms on the outside, I have negative 5n squared plus 10n. I'm going to draw the line, change the signs. My first term should cancel out. So I have negative 10n plus 20. Divide the first term on the inside by the first term on the outside. Negative 10n divided by n, that is negative 10. Multiply the negative 10 to the two terms on the outside. Negative 10n plus 20. I'm going to draw the line and change the signs. Everything cancels out. I have no remainder. My answer is there. Now, lastly, let's take a look at something like this question. I'm going to rewrite everything. Let me get some space here. So let me rewrite this as 8b plus 7. Remember, the polynomial on the inside has to be in order. So I'm going to have to rearrange a few things. I'm going to call this 16b to the 5th minus 34b to the 4th minus 106b to the 3rd minus 136b to the 2nd minus 30b plus 35. Make sure your exponents are in order and you're not skipping any. So I'm going to go 16b to the 5th divided by 8b. That gives me 2b to the 4th, right? 16 divided by 8. When it comes to letters, I subtract my exponents. Okay, now multiplication, 2b to the 4th multiplied to the two terms on the outside. That gives me 16b to the 5 plus 14b to the 4th. I'm going to draw the line, change the signs. First term cancels out. So that gives me negative 48b to the 4th minus 106b to the 3rd. Divide the first term on the inside by the term on the outside. Numbers wise, negative 48 divided by 8, that gives me negative 6. Letter wise, I'm subtracting the exponents. Now multiply the negative 6b to the 3rd to the terms on the outside. That gives me negative 48b to the 4th minus 42b to the 3rd. I'm going to draw the line, change the signs. First term cancels out. Negative 106 plus 42. That gives me negative 64b to the 3rd minus 136b to the 2nd. Negative 64b to the 3rd divided by 8b. That gives me negative 8b to the 2nd. Multiply negative 8b to the 2nd to everything on the outside. Negative 64b to the 3rd minus 56b to the 2nd. Draw the line, change the signs. First term cancels out. I get negative 80b to the 2nd minus 30b. Negative 80b squared divided by 8b, that gives me negative 10b. So I have negative 80b to the 2nd minus 70b. Draw the line, change the signs. I have 40b plus 35. 40b divided by 8b, that's 5. So I get 40b plus 35. Draw the line, change the signs, everything cancels out. My answer is right there.